Hey friends, I'm Christy and you're listening to Rock the Damn Boat. If you've ever bitten your tongue to keep the peace or said yes when every part of you wanted to say no, this one's for you. We're diving into the messy, real stuff that people pleasers like me have spent years avoiding. It's time to have the hard conversations, shake things up, and learn to stand tall, even when it makes waves. And usually I am talking about making waves, but today I am talking about standing tall. Because yesterday I very spontaneously drove down, actually Saturday, I drove down to Canyon Lake, spent the night with my parents, and then yesterday drove over to Austin to attend a Create and Cultivate event. The event was called Future Summit, and it was part of the whole South by Southwest event happening this week in Austin, Texas. I did not know anything about this event prior to Thursday. And I saw that my friend Jess Berger, founder and CEO of Bundle and Joy, if you have not listened to our episode, go back and listen to it. She is full of wisdom and she is really blazing the trail for me when I look at how she shows up in the world. And especially because I identify with her because she's a self-proclaimed introvert and putting herself out there is sometimes difficult for her. So I saw that she was going down to Austin to participate in some South by Southwest events. She tagged Create and Cultivate, and there was the Sunday Future Summit that was happening. So I looked up the event, realized that I could drive down. It's just 2.5 hours down to Austin, and there were tickets available for guaranteed entry for about $200. It guaranteed your spot. It got you a swag bag. It was, priority entry, those sorts of things. And I wanted to do it, but I sat on it. Did I want to spend the money? I wanted to wait until my husband got up and make sure that he didn't have any plans for us for Sunday and me just say, hey, peace out, I'm going to Austin. While I will tell you all day long that what your heart wants matters, I definitely wanted to make sure that this was a decision that we made in tandem. So I waited and then I mentioned it to him, and I think there was probably a part of me that was still afraid to pay all this money to go hobnob with women, network with women, where in a room where I might feel like I don't belong. It was founders, it was CEOs, it was marketing executives, creatives. I had imposter syndrome in that moment. So by the time I decided that I was for sure going to go and I logged back on around noon to buy my ticket, those were gone. The paid tickets were gone. I made the decision about an hour later to go ahead and do the free RSVP. I thought, what do I have to lose? If I change my mind, all I'm out is a free RSVP. But if I decide to go, then I can get in line, and it was first come, first serve. I'll figure it out. I did the free RSVP. That unlocked the app for me. Create and Cultivate has an app. I had a join code that then I could join this app, have access to 1,500 other women who had signed up for this event. And I could look and see what everyone did and who I might want to connect with, because their whole idea is creating and cultivating relationships with other women supporting women-owned businesses. How do we lift each other up? And after being at the Women in Publishing Summit earlier in the week with the theme of Better Together, I was definitely in networking mode and I was open to this idea. I also thought, okay, I have a safety net. My friend Jess will be there so I can go and say hi. And if I'm feeling awkward, I'll have someone just to say hello to and have a familiar face. The doors open at 10. I would need to get in line early. I decided to go spend the night with my parents, who live about an hour from Austin and from that event. So I also made my parents' weekend because I drove down on Saturday. I stayed with them. We visited. We had dinner. I got to see my parents for the first time since Christmas, and then get up early Sunday and drive over to Austin. I had pre-booked my parking so that I didn't have to stress over parking. I found a parking lot right across the street from the event venue. I woke up early. I picked out my outfit the day before. I got up, left the house at 7, got in line at 8. I assumed that when I pulled up that the line would be around the block. And it wasn't at 8 a.m. I got in line with a lovely young woman named Ryan, who was there by herself. She was waiting on a friend to show up. So her and I chatted almost the entire 2 hours that we were waiting. We even got interviewed, or they were wanting mic moments. So we had to pretend like we were continuing our conversation and it was being recorded, which was fine because we were on a roll at that moment about how the universe brought us together, brought us to this event. Both of us felt a little nervous about being there and taking up space. So having that conversation helped alleviate both of our fears. 10 o'clock, the doors open. I happened to be one of the first 100 that got this amazing swag bag full of stuff. I did not have any intention of being one of the first 100. I just wanted to make sure I got into the event. I got this huge bag of all kinds of goodies, which, by the way, I had to haul around all day and it was really heavy, but it was nice to have gotten all that stuff. It included a bottle of water and there was all kinds of freebies throughout the event. Farmer's Fridge was a sponsor, so they had breakfast and then they had lunch. There were all kinds of drinks, energy drinks, different things, Olipop, Gorgie, lots of brands were supporting the event. I was thinking today that I would record this episode while everything was fresh on my mind, and this would be next week's Sunday Shorty. But I feel like you deserve it as a Monday mini because you might need some motivation for the week ahead. And if you are someone who I met yesterday at the event, then this might rekindle your excitement. And I was able to tell a lot of people about the podcast, got some immediate followers. I followed some podcasts that I am blown away by, that I'm excited to learn from. And this might be just what you need to start your week. So this is going to be a Monday mini episode that is full of some of the sound bites that I heard yesterday. The first session that I sat in on was with Jonathan Van Ness. And if you know JVN from Queer Eye, you know he was full of personality, had an amazing talk with the co-founder of Create Cultivate. So it was an empowering conversation, and one of the key things that I took away from his talk about his career and everything that he's done, he is a self-proclaimed chronically codependent people pleaser. He talked repeatedly about therapy. He talked about working with this therapist. He talked about all of the things that he has to overcome as someone who was bullied young. And if you've read his book, you'll know more about his bullying and what it was like to grow up in a really small town. He had all these things to say about what it means to be visible when you are a people pleaser. And the second key nugget I got from his talk is Jacqueline asked him what it was like when Queer Eye ended, and that having been part of his identity for so long. And he said he got really quiet, and I shared this on social media because it was such a powerful moment. And he said, I got this flutter in my chest and I was feeling these feelings for several days. And he said, what I realized that feeling was possibility. And that is exactly how I felt when I left corporate last November. It's scary. I am experiencing ups and downs of self-employment that I did not see coming. I thought that if I made this brave leap, that it would just be easy and the universe would reward me for finally doing this thing that I'd been saying I was going to do. But being in that room full of women and men yesterday, and JVN is non-binary, I was inspired because I know that it takes hard work. I loved his discussion on possibility, and that is what I am always trying to imagine the possibilities. That's what makes it hard for me to talk about what I do, because I'm following so many things right now wherever my heart is leading me. But the through line for all of those is using my voice, which is exactly what I do here on the podcast, and helping propel the stories of other women and other female-founded organizations. That is why I am loving this podcast so much. Some of the other things, the other sessions I attended and other things I learned, I went to a session on ADHD and how to be focused as an entrepreneur with ADHD. M on the Brain, she has 1.8 million followers on Instagram. She is the founder of Mindcraft, and she talked about 3 pillars related to entrepreneurship. She said, identity drives focus. So getting really clear about what you want to do. When I did an Enter Mentor ceremony about 5 years ago, it came through very clearly that I wanted to be an author and retreat host. Yes, podcasting has come into the mix. That is another platform for me to use my voice. I would not have even considered that 5 years ago, but here we are. And that is also a way to help spread the word about what I do, which is write and host retreats. Now, I am working to build community and help women who are afraid to use their voice to speak up or to pursue their dreams. And being on this podcast and bringing you inspiring stories, definitely a way for me to help propel that. Of course, with ADHD, she explained what I've been talking about, your prefrontal cortex versus your amygdala. Your amygdala thinks you're not safe. Your prefrontal cortex, she called the CEO of your brain. So you want to do things that foster prefrontal cortex function. And she talked about 3 M's, movement, mindfulness, and mindset, which that is what Thrive is all about, is helping you create the mindset of stepping up to the starting line. I'm no longer afraid to start this project or start this book. I am ready, and that is what Thrive helps you do. So I was excited to hear that idea because that is what I want to help you do, whether it's on retreat or through a group community. And then one of the things, actually 2 things that I heard that were very impactful in a career pivot session. One of the women talked about P&L instead of profit and loss, meaning purpose and lessons. And that meant a lot to me because finding a larger purpose for my life has a lot to do with why I left corporate last year. And I knew I had a bigger purpose, that I needed to amplify my voice, even though it felt scary, to help other women, quiet women, unlock their own voices. What was interesting for me was her description of lessons. So purpose and lessons is how can you use what you know? And how can I use what I know to help women step into the spotlight? I have done it over and over and over again, even though it does not feel natural. And I'm not suggesting that you mask, because that is not something, we don't want to deplete our nervous systems by masking. But what we can do is rewire our brain to where that feels less uncomfortable. And just like me, driving down to Austin, attending this event that I wasn't even sure I was going to get into, was me working off of the neurons that I have wired together that say, you can do hard things, that say you deserve to be in that room. And I want you to know that you deserve to be in that room, or you deserve to tell that story, or you deserve to follow your heart and turn that passion project into something bigger. The final thing I'll leave you with is the founder of Curie, the deodorant brand, who got a deal on Shark Tank. She said she has a Post-it in her office that says, everything you want is on the other side of hard. And I put that as a note in my phone. I will be writing that on a piece of paper to keep somewhere visible for myself. Everything you want is on the other side of hard. You can do hard things. Glennon Doyle tells us that. There are so many ways to boost yourself up. And I am one who is guilty of thinking someone else is out there saying it or doing it better, or they thought of it first. You have a voice that resonates with someone. There were all different types of personalities in that room yesterday. Some of them, my energy matched theirs. Some of them, it didn't. And I'm decidedly not their ideal client. But my ideal client was somewhere in that room, because there were women in that room, just like the young woman I talked to in line, who was overcoming a lot of fear to even show up. And I want to help you show up. I want to help you reach the starting line. That is what I am doing with my business, and I'm still figuring it out as I go. I continually put myself at the starting line of new things, and I'm proud of everything that I've done. Published a book, created a festival. Sometimes I forget that I created an entire festival last year. And there are things that I set my mind to that I accomplish. Are they always successes? No, but that's okay, because I hear so many founders and entrepreneurs who talk about all of the early failures, all of the lean bank account months. I always discounted that, but now I am believing that we can do hard things, that everything we want is on the other side of hard, and I am willing to do the hard work, and I want to help you do it too. So I hope that you'll join me on retreat. I've got the Texas retreat happening in April. I've got Rock the Damn Boat, the experience, happening in Tahoe in June. I would be so excited to have you join that cohort. We will be having conversations that empower your voice. And I hope you enjoy this little bonus episode, because I am so jazzed up from being there yesterday in that room with 2,000 amazing women. And I want you to hear this in real time so that this sets the tone for your week, and that you believe the hard work that you're doing this week is going to pay off. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know what Sunday Shorty is going to be about, because I had to bring this to you right away, but more conversations to come. A very powerful conversation coming Wednesday. So follow or subscribe to the show so that you don't miss a single episode. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Rock the Damn Boat, a podcast produced and recorded by Christy Hughes. You can follow, subscribe on both Apple and Spotify, and your 5-star review goes a long way. Thank you so much for your support of the show.